Support for Donnybrook Last Call is provided in part by Design Air Heating and Cooling.
We could probably use Design Air because it's pretty heated in this studio. Thank you so much for joining us for Last Call. This is the YouTube portion where we discuss issues that we didn't get around to on the first 30 minutes. But Bill, we may have saved the biggest topic for Last Call this week because the APA, the American Protective Association, which has been doing great work for animals in St. Louis and beyond for a long time, announced that it's going to quit its contract with the county to run the animal shelter in Olivet. The APA will depart February 23rd. So the county has to take over operations. Dr. Kanika Cunningham, the health director for the county, has said that all the volunteers there, who on an annual basis provide 28,000 hours of volunteer time, will be let go. You actually wrote about firing of the volunteers back when Rod Zimmerman at KMOX fired our volunteers around 1994 or so. Mm-hmm. These were little old ladies who used to help people with consumer problems. Right. And now the people who
volunteer hotline or help.
Call for action.
Right.
Call for action, yeah.
The volunteers who clean out the cages and the kennels and walk the dogs and groom them are being fired. Is there any side of the story that makes sense?
No. Unless Dr. Cunningham wants to start cleaning the cages herself. And should do it. This is absolutely crazy. And the dogs love to be walked. I mean, all dogs love to be walked. And you can't hire enough people to walk them. And you have all these dog lovers who are willing to go there on their own time, on their own dime, and walk these dogs and pet them. And I just can't see it at all.
And okay, we rescued a dog first week of December. Bella. All right, and she came from an APA facility. Bella didn't care if the volunteers were black or white, I can tell you. And the part of that got me was that, like, the volunteers who work at this dog shelter need to reflect the neighborhood that is in. I was flabbergasted at that. You know, look, if people of color don't want to go down there and work with these dogs, so you're going to get rid of the people that want to help these dogs? I mean, that's just, I mean, boy, put it this way. There are some legitimate causes that need inclusion and diversity. This is not one of them.
I had my doubts when I read that Dr. Cunningham talked about her vision. I have a problem when anybody starts talking about vision because it usually never ends well. Okay, it doesn't mean you have a plan. It means you have a vision. You know, it's sort of like I had a vision of being the third baseman for the Cardinals. Had a vision, didn't work out. I don't see who this helps. You've got a bunch of volunteers who probably looked forward to going down there. So you're telling them, sorry, get out of here. So you're not helping that side of the equation, which means it's going to now have to be done by employees or not done at all, which runs the risk of returning this shelter to the condition which caused the problem in the first place. So your vision is basically, trust me, I have a vision. I don't see who this helps.
Well, and if you believe in the election post-mortem, some of the most prominent Democrats out there believe that it was a referendum on woke going too far. If that is in fact what this is, then this might be a prime example with blinking lights, because as you said, Alvin, there are a lot of areas in our society that require a greater intensity when it comes to diversity and inclusion, but this isn't one of them. And you have an apparatus that other charitable organizations would kill for it to have that kind of
volunteers.
Well, why is Sam Page going along with this?
I cannot even imagine.
Maybe it's his idea or something. We don't know. But, you know, a county executive who had a little ambition or who had some ideas could easily raise the money with local celebrities to provide the money for a great shelter because people love animals. And, you know, everybody realizes that we're like living in this pandemic of loneliness, and what's the best thing for a senior citizen or someone who's
Or a
living
young
alone but to
person.
go out and walk a dog, and the dog benefits, the senior benefits?
And there's a couple of things that fall on the lesser things, but what is the message it sends to the volunteers? Yeah, thanks, but bye.
Yeah.
I mean, people who went down there didn't have to.
Did it for
Did it
themselves
because they
and the
cared for
animals.
the animals, and it made them feel better. So you're just telling them, yeah, we don't need you anymore. Yes, you did. You did need them.
Something needs to be done
And
about
you're
Dr.
gonna
Cunningham.
need it. And let's also keep in mind that Dr. Cunningham's vision at some part for the health department has included the hiring of her daughter and then recommending the daughter for a raise. So that's where the vision thing, and you said you wanted a county executive with a vision. I want one with a plan.
Yeah, I
Forget the
understand what
vision,
you're saying.
you know.
So she hired her daughter because her daughter wasn't a volunteer. Otherwise, she would have fired her. Okay, Wendy, I want to ask you, if you live long enough, you see just about everything. And now Josh Hawley is pairing up with Bernie Sanders, the socialist from Vermont. And the idea is to tell banks that they can't charge interest on credit cards beyond 10%. The average in this country is up to 21.5%. Some credit cards,
Or
believe it
higher.
or not, they're
Or higher.
charging
Yeah.
34%.
Right.
Do you like this idea?
I do like this idea. I absolutely like this idea. I think that Josh Hawley's political instincts, even the people who are opposed to everything that he stands for, you can't argue with the man's political instincts.
Hey, and he's also doing it after an election. Like if this were the month before the election, I'd
Right.
be going, oh, Josh Hawley. But he's doing it right after an election, so I think you have to give him credit.
But in
I don't think
terms
he
of
wanted to pair
MAGA
himself with Sanders before the
Right,
election.
exactly.
True.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, but
I
also-
don't,
but-
I don't think he wants to reach across the aisle to Bernie Sanders before with the MAGA folks.
I wrote the story about the credit card one with
You
that
did
he paired
indeed.
with,
Thank
with
you.
Bernie. He also last year paired with Elizabeth Warren on legislation. He has carved out this populist stance, and again,
GM plan.
like him or hate him, he's shown up on picket lines. He's going with his game plan, and I think he has his sights set on way bigger office. He did not seem to be, as Eric Schmidt was, showing up for all of Trump's candidates everywhere, certainly supported Trump, and he won by 12, 13 points in Missouri. I think he has a very shrewd game. He's put in bills with Bernie and Elizabeth Warren.
I don't think it's going to work because I think this is a reaction to when some federal consumer board recently said that the late fees had to be capped at what, $8 or $10. And so the bank shifted the costs of doing business to the interest rate. And if you say, okay, you can only charge 10%, I think JP Morgan and American Express are going to say, you know what, there's a lot of people who aren't going to have credit cards anymore.
Well, I mean, okay, maybe
Not
that's
American Express.
that just happens to be how it works. Also, you know, you can't charge the overdraft fee. Wasn't legislation took care of that either federally or statewide? That you can't, you know, charge somebody $75 when they bounce a check. So, I mean, things like this do happen. I'm kind of surprised that the banking industry hasn't already said like, oh, no.
They're
but
formulating.
We'll see.
Well,
Yeah.
They're
billionaires are not commenting.
They've got their wax mustache.
The banks are just going to raise fees on other banking services. They're not going to lose out. So the little guy is going to pay. The key is pay the bill before the end of the month so you don't pay any interest.
Well, that's
if
true.
you can do it.
Right, but
If you can do it. A lot of people can't do it.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know how many billions of dollars, but I know it's a lot that they make off of the high interest. How they
They do
recoup
well.
that money, I don't know.
It's billions.
But I would rather see that at 10%, and then whatever their next move is, we go from there.
All right, Alvin. Your words will be the last one for this last call. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next week.